Dateline, Mars. I'm Gloria Standish. I'm standing in a prefabricated pressurized building that everyone here calls the Hut. Outside, the Martian atmosphere is too thin to breathe, so Space Force and civilian archaeologists alike wear oxygen suits as they explore and catalog the ruins of this once great city. Here in the Hut, in Earth normal air, they can work in relative comfort as they analyze their finds. Lieutenant Sachiko Korimitsu is the ordnance officer, but under these circumstances, that isn't a full-time job. Can you tell me what you're doing, Lieutenant?
I'm wishing you'd leave me alone, Gloria.
That's not fair, Sachi. I don't interfere. I don't intrude. I'm not always underfoot. I'm just trying to tell an interesting story for the people back home.
I told you, I'm not a big fan of cameras.
Fine, I'll use you as a voiceover while I focus on your hands. Please?
Okay.
Thanks. Can you tell me what you're doing, Lieutenant?
Well, should I call you Gloria or Miss Standish?
Gloria. The whole world is on a first-name basis with me. Don't you ever watch television?
Not willingly. Well, Gloria, this is a Martian book.
Oh? What is it about?
God only knows. Salim von Olmhorst, our senior archaeologist, found it lying open with some heavy stuff on top of it. The pages were simply crushed. It's really a mess. I'm piecing each page back together so it can be laminated and protected, and eventually translated.
Great, Sachi. Now, I'll shoot your hands for a few more seconds while you work.
Knock yourself out. Hello, Martha. Is it cocktail time yet?
No, Sachiko. It's only 15:30. How's it going?
Keeping busy. I think of it as micro jigsaw puzzles.
Damn it! That would have been great. Mind if I use it in the voiceover?
Go ahead. If only it would mean something after I restore it.
It has just as much meaning now as it ever had. We just haven't learned how to decipher it yet.
That seems like a pretty pointless distinction. There no longer exists a means of deciphering it.
We'll find one, Salim.
How? From pictures and captions? Suppose some alien to our culture found a picture of a man with a white beard and a mustache sawing a billet from a log. He would think the caption meant man sawing wood. How would he know that it was really Wilhelm II in exile at dawn?
I can think of pictures intended to explain their captions. These picture language books, the sort we use in the service, little line drawings with a word or phrase under them.
Well, of course. If we found something like that...
Michael Ventris found something like that back in the 50s.
Yeah, Colonel Penrose. You're referring to Linear B, of course.
Yes, Ventris found a lot of Greek inventories of military stores. They were in Cretan Linear B script, and at the head of each list was a little picture. A sword, or a helmet, or a cooking tripod, or a chariot wheel. That's what gave him the key to the script.
We're all learning each other's specialties on this expedition.
Oh, and I heard about that long before this expedition was even contemplated. As a feat of cryptoanalysis, not an archaeological discovery.
Exactly. Only with a bilingual text, one language already known, can an unknown ancient language be learned. And I ask you, what hope have we of finding anything like that here? Martha, you've been working on these Martian texts ever since we landed here, for the last 6 months. Tell me, have you found a single word to which you can positively assign any meaning?
Yes, I think I have one. Doma. It's the name of one of the months of the Martian calendar.
Where did you find that? And how did you establish some kind of...
Here, I found this 2 days ago. What would you say this document is?
Well, it could be anything, Martha. We haven't the first glimmer of an idea what it says.
True, for now. But ignore that and look at the document as a piece of typographical design. I'd call this the title page of a magazine.
Yeah, I see. Yes, I would say so too. Have you any of the rest of it?
I have most of it. I just gathered it up at the time, gave it to Jeffrey and Rosita to photocopy. This is the first I've really examined it. See? Here's the bold heading, the title of the journal. Mastanorbat Tarvas Sorhulva.
And you base your pronunciation on what?
Well, I pulled it out of a hat, really. But I ran an analysis on the frequency with which letters occur in a given text. It suggested that the long vertical letters, like these, are vowels. Had to start somewhere.
And if it is a title page, then this is a table of contents?
We found enough things numbered in series that we know what their numerals look like. And we also know they use decimal numeration. This is the 1,754th issue for the month of Doma in the year 14,837. I don't know if it's quarterly archaeological review or spicy adventure stories, but it's clearly a magazine.
Oh, this is remarkable. Surprising that a thing like a magazine would have survived so long.
Well, this silicone stuff the Martians used for paper is pretty durable.
It's not remarkable that the material would have survived, Colonel, but only a really vital culture, an organized culture, will publish magazines. And this civilization had been dying for hundreds of years before the end.
Well, look where I found it. In a closet, in a cellar. Tossed in there and forgotten, and then ignored when they were stripping the building. Things like that happen.
The Martians publish magazines?
Don't try to blow this up to anything big, Gloria. All we have is the name of a month, and God only knows how long it'll be till we even find out which month it was.
But that's not the story. What the public back on Terra will be interested in is finding out that the Martians publish magazines just like we do. Something familiar. Make the Martians seem more real, more human. Hi, Dr. Latimer.
Ms. Standish. Colonel Penrose, I picked out the next building to enter. That tall one with the conical thing on top. If you can spare some people to help, we can start exploring it right away.
Yes, of course, Dr. Latimer. I can spare about a dozen, and I suppose you can find a few civilian volunteers.
Nothing ought to be entered for the first time without a qualified archaeologist along. We'll divide into 2 parties. 3 if Martha can tear herself away from this catalog of systematized incomprehensibility she's making long enough to do some real work.
Look, Tony.
Dr. Dane's been doing as much work and as important work as you have.
Working out a system of pronunciation by which the Martian language could be transliterated.
Largely unassisted, Tony. 9/10 of it she did herself.
Purely arbitrary. Why, we don't even know that the Martians could make the same kind of vocal sounds we do.
Oh, yes, we do.
What's that, Dr. Fitzgerald?
I haven't seen any actual Martian skulls. These people seem to have been very tidy about disposing of their dead. But from statues and busts and pictures, I'd say that their vocal organs were identical with ours.
Well, grant that. And grant that it would be impressive to rattle off the names of Martian notables whose statues we find. What I object to is wasting time on this stuff when there's so much real work to be done.
What you mean is that it doesn't have the publicity value that digging up statues has.
What I mean is that you're trying to find something that any archaeologist, yourself included, should know doesn't exist. But the reputation you're risking is yours.
But I don't want to be a big shot. I just want to read a Martian book. I want to know who they were.
There's our hole in the wall.
And Tony did fight it with both hands. I lost a bet.
Good job minimizing peripheral damage, Lieutenant.
Thank you, Colonel. But the Martians really deserve the credit for that. This stuff is tough, even the windows.
This one's been stripped. It's completely bare, just like the others. Nothing left to indicate how the room was used.
It'll do for living quarters and shops then, Tony. Added to the others, this will take care of everybody coming in on the Schiaparelli.
Come on through into the hallway. You should see this.
Okay, what's up?
See how each of the rooms are numbered? And each one has the same word over the door.
Yes, Darfulva, as Martha Dane would pronounce it.
So you were paying attention.
So?
I think this was a college of some sort, and these were classrooms. That word up there, that was the subject part or the department. And those outlets for electronic devices, all where the class would face them. Audio-visual teaching aids.
A 25-story university? A building like this would handle 30,000 students.
Maybe there were that many. This was a big city in its prime.
Yes, but think of the snafu in the halls every time they changed classes. It'd take half an hour to get everybody back and forth from one floor to another. Salim, I'm going upstairs. This floor's been looted, but there's a chance there may be something above.
I'll stay on this floor at present. We should get it completely examined and recorded before Major Lindeman's people start dragging things in and out.
Well, if nobody else wants it, I'll take the downstairs.
I'll go along with you. If the lower floors have no archaeological value, we'll turn them into living quarters. There are escalators on either side of the hall, and I see more on the intersecting passage.
That's how they handle the students between classes.
Those and these elevators. Dr. Dane?
Oh my God.
What?
Salim, get in here!
Martha? What is... Good heavens.
Look around at these murals.
Skin-clad savages squatting around a fire?
Nomads riding long-legged, graceful mounts like hornless deer.
Peasants sowing and reaping? Mud-walled huts, villages, and cities.
Battles with swords and bows and with cannon and muskets.
A richly fertile landscape, gradually merging into barren deserts and bushlands. The time of the great planet-wide drought.
The canal builders, men digging and quarrying and driving across the empty plains with aqueducts.
Dwindling half-deserted cities.
4 tiny humanoid figures and a thing like a combat car in the middle of a brush-grown plaza.
Oh, if these are accurate...
If this is a university, I think we can assume they are. The faculty would insist.
This is the biggest thing yet. The whole history of Mars. Stone Age to the end. All on 4 walls.
Well, let's don't go too fast.
Tony?
Well, it certainly rings true, but you must realize there are a lot of assumptions inherent in your conclusions.
Tony, I'm going to cut images of this mural into a montage, and I want you to do the voice for it. Running commentary, interpretation of each scene as it's shown. Would you do it?
I'd be happy to, Gloria.
Oh, no, Miss Standish. Don't throw me in that there briar patch.
Hush. Well, there ought to be more murals on the other floors. Who wants to come downstairs with us?
Dateline, Mars. I'm Gloria Standish. We accompanied Dr. Dane to the lowest level, then worked our way back up. The other buildings we'd entered had all been stripped, possibly looted. This one was different. Wherever we looked, we found evidence of activity suddenly suspended and never resumed. A vise with a bar of metal in it, half cut through, and the hacksaw beside it. Pots and pans with hardened remains of food in them, a leathery cut of meat on a table with the knife ready at hand. It's easy to imagine that the Martians never left this place, that they are still here, still around us, watching with disapproval every time we pick up something they have laid down.
I really like these electric pry bars. Where are we now? We need to make a note.
Basement 2, west door. Is there room to get a flood in?
Oh, yes.
Coming. Oh, Martha!
What?
What's up?
You want to see this? Better than the murals?
Nothing's better than the murals.
Betcha!
Coming. What's so... Oh my God, a library!
Half an acre of bookcases, 15 feet to the ceiling.
This must be the main stack of the university library. The entire literature of the vanished race of Mars.
It's the Martian Library of Congress.
That's it. I'll be staying here.
Mars is heaven.
Wrong story. More like time enough at last.
What do you mean?
500 million books written in a language she can't read?
Yet.
Tony, I think I have your answer why this building was looted differently than all the others. The people who looted this one lived here. They had electric power to the last. We found refrigerators full of desiccated food and stoves with the dinner still on them.
We found a lot of machine guns and light autocannon on the street level, and all the doors were barricaded.
The people here were trying to keep a civilization running after the rest of the planet had gone back to barbarism. I suppose they'd have to fight off raids by the barbarians now and then.
I think that this place must have been something like a monastery in the Dark Ages in Europe. Or, what such a monastery would have been like if the Dark Ages had followed the fall of a highly developed scientific civilization.
I found out what that conical thing on the roof is, by the way. It's a wind rotor, and under it there's an electric generator. This building generated its own power.
What sort of condition are the generators in?
Well, everything's full of dust that blew in under the rotor, of course, but it looks to be in pretty good shape.
I disagree. They're in a holy mess. The supports of the wind rotor gave way, and weight snapped the main shaft and smashed everything under it.
Well, after 50,000 years, you can expect something like that.
You're missing my point. You're not an engineer, or you would have seen it immediately. It happened while the power was on. Everything's burned out, or shorted, or fused together. I saw one bus bar 8 inches across melted clean in two.
Did it look as though anybody made any attempt to fix it?
No. They must have taken one look at it and given up. I don't believe there would have been any possible way to repair anything.
Well, that explains why they left. Without power, this place would have been uninhabitable.
You know what this is? It's an archaeological Marie Celeste. What happened to them? Where did they go? Why did they barricade everything from the inside? And how did they get out?
Oh, to keep other people from breaking in and looting. Last man out probably barred the last door and slid down a rope from upstairs. This Houdini trick doesn't worry me too much. We'll find out eventually.
Yes, about the time Martha starts reading Martian.
That may be just when we'll find out. It wouldn't surprise me if they left something in writing when they evacuated this place.
Are you really beginning to treat this pipe dream of hers as a serious possibility, Celine? Let me quote the distinguished Hittitologist Johannes Friedrich. Nothing can be translated out of nothing. Or that later but not less distinguished Hittitologist Selim von Olmhorst. Where are you going to get your bilingual?
Are you really that convinced that Martha will never learn to read the Martian language? Or are you afraid that she will?
Dateline, Kukan. I'm Gloria Standish. Yes, we are still on the planet Mars. But now, at last, the city has a name once again. The name its people gave it. Kukan. But that is not the most remarkable thing that happened today.
Now, don't rush, Lieutenant. Whatever's in that room has waited 500 centuries for us to find it. It would be a shame to damage it now.
I think he knows that, Tony.
Well, I'm sure he does. I'm saying it mostly for my own benefit. This door wasn't just closed. It was locked from the inside. The pry bars wouldn't budge it.
Are you telling me?
I'm doing my level best not to jump to any conclusions.
Of course.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I have this lamp, if you men will follow me with more floodlights. The air is very stuffy. You'll need your oxygen masks. Major Lindemann's air conditioning didn't reach. My God.
Tony?
Someone please tell Dr. Fitzgerald to drop whatever the hell he's doing and get over here. There are Martians in here.
Alive?
Of course not.
Who's gone for Dr. Fitzgerald?
I'm here. Good Lord!
18 of them, seated around a long table. Skeletons covered with leather. The flesh shrunken onto the bones under it.
Bottles and glasses on the table in front of them. They look as though they might have just been dozing over drinks. Well, if you don't look too closely.
What killed them?
One cannot overstate the boredom of the average faculty meeting.
Mass suicide, I'd say. Notice what's in the corners.
Yes. Charcoal braziers.
I noticed a quantity of charcoal around a couple of hand forges in the shop on the first floor.
And the ventilation shaft is stuffed with rags. They must have been all that were left here.
We found abandoned tasks all over the building because that's what they were doing when they lost power. When the roof fell in.
They couldn't repair it?
They didn't have the resources. They were just 18 refugees in an old university building.
But they were old and tired, and all around them their world was dying.
So they just came in here, lit the charcoal, and sat drinking together till they all fell asleep.
What's this?
It's just a globe.
Wait! It's a globe of Mars!
I'm an idiot. It would be, wouldn't it?
It must have been made when the city was a seaport. Look here. We know the city's name now. Martha, is this consistent with your pronunciation studies?
Yes. It's Kukan.
Martha?
Yes, Gloria?
This looks like a calendar.
A what? Let me see it. It's a numbered table, yes! It has to be a calendar. And there's the Montedoma.
Oh, congratulations! Hypothesis unmistakably confirmed.
Some handwritten notes on certain dates, then a red circle around one date, and a lot of notes, then nothing. Do you suppose?
I don't see what else it could possibly be, Martha. They were tracking the final month of activity here, ending when the generator collapsed. This is the last calendar ever to exist on the planet Mars. And that date is the date they shut themselves up in here.
My God.
Quite a story, Gloria.
It's so, I can't get around it. It's too big. How do you report the end of the world? Without question, Dr. Latimer has become, overnight, the most widely known archaeologist in history.
Not that I'm interested in all this fame for myself.
Heaven forbid.
But this is going to be a big thing for Martian archaeology. Bring it to the public attention. Dramatize it. Celine, can you remember when Lord Carnarvon and Howard Carter found the tomb of Tutankhamun?
In 1923? Well, I was 2 years old then. I don't know how much good all this public excitement really does in the long run.
Well, I think one of us should go back on the Cyrano when the Schiaparelli orbits in. I'd hoped it would be you. Your voice would carry the most weight, but I think it's important that one of us go back. So I believe I shall go back, at least for a while, and see what I can do.
Are you all right, Martha?
Oh, yes. Tony's going to go home and do what he does best. Lectures, the organization of a society of Martian archaeology, with himself the logical candidate for the chair. Degrees, honors, positions, with impressive titles and salaries. Sweet are the uses of publicity. I'm going to stay here and do the sort of thing Tony wants to get away from. The detailed work. The drudgery. The slogging through the mud. Actually, I think we're both getting what we want. Don't you?
Maybe, but not what you deserve.
Colonel Penrose?
Yes, Martha?
I wonder if you could find me a couple of men for an hour or so tomorrow. I stopped by a couple of jammed doors on the central hall on the 5th floor, lecture room and library. If the layout of that floor is anything like the ones below it.
Yes, I'm a pretty fair doorbuster myself. Want to come along, Mort? Chemistry and Physics Department. Ought to be up your alley.
I came down from the Cyrano to see the sights. Count me in.
Dateline, Kukan University, Department of Chemical and Physical Science. On the 5th floor, the murals were of heroic-sized Martians, so human in appearance as to seem members of our own race, each holding some object, a book or a test tube, or some bit of scientific apparatus. Hey, Martha, there's that word, the one in the title of your magazine. Surnhuva. Chemistry or physics?
Both. I don't think the Martians made any sharp distinction between them. That is clearly a spectroscope, and these are diagrams of long-chain molecules.
Lecture hall door is clear. Who's got the floods?
Here.
The room's empty, like most of them have been. There's a big target on one wall, though.
That's not a target. It's a diagram of atomic structure. They got as far as the Bohr atom, anyhow. Well, not quite. They knew about electron shells, but they have the nucleus pictured as a solid mass. No indication of proton and neutron structure.
So, they didn't have atomic energy.
Well, that is a uranium atom.
Then they did have atomic energy?
Nuts, Gloria. Uranium doesn't necessarily mean nuclear power. We knew about uranium a long time before we knew what we could do with it.
I'm trying to figure out this table on the opposite wall. 2 columns of 46 items each.
Probably used uranium because it's the largest of the natural atoms. The fact that there's nothing beyond it shows that they hadn't created any of the transuranics. A student could go to that thing and point out the outer electron of any of the 92 elements.
92! Twice 46 is 92! Mort, look at this thing over here. Tell me, what do you think it is? Could it be a table of the elements?
It could be. It sure isn't a periodic table, but then Mendeleev wasn't a Martian. Well, not that we know of. His periodic table is so much a part of our chemistry that it's hard to imagine the elements arranged any other way. If I only knew what those squiggles meant.
If you could read the numbers, would that help? It's decimal system, the same as we use. Here.
Sure. If that's a table of elements, all I'd need would be the numbers to recognize it. Thanks.
92 items numbered consecutively. The first number would be the atomic number, then a single word, then the name of the element, then the atomic weight.
I know hydrogen is number 1. 1 sarphoston. Helium is 2. That's trifoston. What's sarphosdavas? The third one?
Lithium. The atomic weights aren't run out past the decimal point. Hydrogen's 1 plus, if that double hook dingus is a plus sign. Helium's 4 plus, that's right. And lithium's given as 7. That isn't right. It's 6.940. Or is that thing a Martian minus sign?
Of course! Look! A plus sign is a hook to hang things together. A minus sign is a knife to cut something off. Stylized, of course, but that's what it is. And the fourth element, Kiradavas, what's that?
Beryllium. Atomic weight given is 9 and a hook, and actually it's 9.02.
Hey, you're reading that. You're reading Martian.
I don't get the two items after the atomic weight, though. They look like months of the Martian calendar. What ought they to be, Mort?
Well, after the atomic weight, you usually get the period in group numbers, but those are words.
What would the numbers for the first one be? Hydrogen?
Period 1, group 1. 1 electron shell, 1 electron in the outer shell. Helium's period 1 too, but it has the outer only electron shell full, so it's in the group of inert elements.
Period Trav, group Trav. Trav's the first month of the year, and helium is Trav Yinth. Yinth is the 8th month.
The inert elements could be called group 8, yes, and the third element, lithium, is period 2, group 1. That check?
It certainly does. Salv is the second month. Salm Trav. What's the first element in the period 3?
Sodium, number 11.
Doma's the 5th month. That was your first Martian word, Martha. The word for 5. And if Davos is the word for metal, and Sornhova is chemistry/physics, I'll bet Tadava Sornhova is literally translated as of metal matter knowledge. Metallurgy, in other words. I wonder what Masthar Norvad means. Something like journal, or review, or maybe quarterly?
Monthly. It's monthly. It was dated for a specific month, the 5th one. And if Nor is 10, Master Norvald could be year 10th.
Metallurgy monthly.
This is really it! The it! Not just it of the week. Wait till Salim sees this. Wait till Tony sees this. I want to see his face. And when I get this on telecast, oh!
Well, take it easy, Gloria. This is just the beginning. It'll take years.
It'll go faster than you think, Martha. We'll all work on it. And we'll transmit material to Terra, and people there will work on it.
And there are other tables. Astronomical tables, tables in physics and mechanics.
We've got a huge library downstairs. The stacks will be full of tables. We transliterate them into Roman alphabet, spellings, and Arabic numerals, and somewhere somebody will recognize them.
You were reading it! Martha's found out how to read Martian! Let's go. I want to call the others.
But, Martha, how can you be so sure that those words really mean things like hydrogen and helium and boron and oxygen? How do you know that their table of elements was anything like ours?
That isn't just the Martian table of elements. That's the table of elements. It's the only one there is. Look, hydrogen has 1 proton and 1 electron. If it had more of either, it wouldn't be hydrogen. It'd be something else. And the same with all the rest of the elements. And hydrogen is hydrogen. On Mars, on Terra, on Alpha Centauri, or in the next galaxy.
My God, you really did it, Martha. You found your bilingual. I never believed that it would be possible. Let me congratulate you.
Thank you, Tony.
Oh, that makes everything all right, I'm sure.
Hush. This is a huge concession for him.
This is something we could show the world to justify any expenditure of time and money on Martian archaeological work. When I get back to Terra, I'll see that you're given full credit for this achievement.
Why wait? I'm sending off an official report tomorrow. You can be sure Dr. Dane will be given full credit, not only for this, but for her previous work, which made it possible to exploit this discovery.
Colonel.
Oh, well, good. Thank you, Hubert.
And, you might add, Martha's work was done in spite of the doubts and discouragements of her colleagues, to which I am ashamed to have to confess my own share.
You said we had to find a bilingual. You were right, too.
This is better than a bilingual, Martha. Physical science expresses universal facts. Necessarily, it is a universal language. Hitherto, archaeologists have dealt only with pre-scientific cultures.
One of the things I'm going to place an order for to be brought on the Schiaparelli will be a set of primers in chemistry and physics of the sort intended for a bright child of 10 or 12.
It seems a Martiologist has to learn a lot of things the Hittites and Assyrians never heard about.